Hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome back to Beyond Your Radio. It's Unknown Sundays. That's right. It's time to talk about another band, an artist, a musician, something in the music multiverse that might be relatively unknown to some, missed, that our watchers, collectors, listeners might be interested and intrigued by, a rabbit hole to go down, so as to speak, past or present. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, hey, I congratulate you on finding great things. This is an extension of our article section on beyondyourradio.com. So if you want the full details, there's links, there's YouTube clips. You can go there. It's all there. If you're not subscribed yet, I kind of think you maybe want to be if you're really into these kind of things. That way you won't miss a thing when we put it out there. YouTube will let you know. Of course, if you like what you like, click the like button. If you want to comment, I'm always game for that as well. Today's journey kind of starts this Unknown Sundays 2026. It doesn't come from the very first album or my awareness of it. And that's kind of a usual thing, right? For most people, you don't get to discover everybody on the first time around. My discovery of this neo-folk country blues artist comes from just believing in the title he chose for his band name at a certain time when I happened to see it, and how the cover kind of happens. But it really comes from a movie that stars Charles Bronson, Will Sampson, along with Kim Novak, from 1977. It's called The White Buffalo. It's basically a Moby Dick of the great Western pursuit of an animal, and that animal being a great white buffalo. And I know it was panned by the critics. But there's just something about the movie's character, the struggle or the acceptance of that struggle, the trying to find a likability and a common standing ground that is so overlooked to me in this picture. It's a movie that's not black and white. It might have been one of those first in its kind, and certainly not white and red. Now, that stuck with me because that's the album cover of Shadows, Grays, and Evil Ways by the White Buffalo. It sent a message to my very younger self, as well as to my more mature position today. This is White Buffalo on Unknown Sundays 2026, and I didn't have a care or understanding of what kind of music it would have been or what was meant by it, only that I was moved by the overall title, the cover, and the color, which I find out is basically a soloist of sorts, which is more perfect than I could ever have expected within the connection of this wonderfully panned 1977 drama thriller with one of my favorite, more silent actors to grace this planet, Charles Bronson. Welcome to the human condition. It's fatal, but you knew that already, I hope. What you do with the life and time you have is going to be a continual choice and events and your reactions to them. Whether it's gunning down men in a bar, like Wild Bill Hickok in the motion picture via Charles Bronson, or picking up an acoustic guitar instead. Now, Bronson in the White Buffalo film is Wild Bill Hickok, and he's there with Crazy Horse, played by Will Sampson. And the two of them are actually in to get the White Buffalo. And it's kind of, you have to witness your work and find a path in your supposed career, which will probably, in the end of time, will utterly mean very little in comparison to the scope of the overall world. Jake Smith, the singer-songwriter from Oregon, seems to understand this in an Eddie Vedder meets the Man in Black mojo of simple theology, survival, and consequences. And this is at the heart of what is the White Buffalo. It's proven to me early on in the first desperate and incredible listen to Shadows, Grays, and Evil Ways. By the time I get to the Whistler, I'm completely blown away by the simple pageantry and delivery of his chosen profession, his talent. What I'm stunned by even more is the music, is that the music listeners, the radio stations, or even record stores never truly felt compelled like I do today to share this musician's plea, order an arrangement of things in such a grand, beautiful, truthful, and haunting place. Don't get me wrong, he's not always about the dirt and dollars, the gray and the black. which I would, truly come to find out as I went on. But here in Shadows, Grays, and Evil Ways, in some conventional and unconventional music ways, the White Buffalo delivers a blow to my music-loving ego, as well as to my pursuit of more in workmanship from this alt-country craftsman. Apparently has a couple of independent releases prior to this, which I come to find out they're a little bit hard to find until he met up with Lizzie West. Now, I discovered Lizzie back in the 2000s based on my subscriptions to Entertainment Weekly, which I don't have anymore, but there's a source too. This was somewhere between 10,000 Maniacs, maybe Joni Mitchell, and a Bravery in an alt indie rock position. So he plays on that with her, and it's a wonderful record. I encourage to listen, but this is not where the White Buffalo hangs its hat. But it is where the musicianship and ability to weave within a wider scope in the genre of indie, alt country, cow punk, as we're going to get to know. And it's just an incredible showcase for this artist. Welcome to the human condition. It's fatal, but it's an experience to take in the light and the dark during that. And this is ultimately the truth in which the White Buffalo lives, breathes, and delivers from. There's not a solitary disc that doesn't share some sort of balance. It could be more of a dark, or it could be more of a light in certain instances. I'd say maybe a little bit more to the dark, because maybe that's where we share our stories and the pageantries of life. There's not a solitary disc that doesn't want to make that connection. Now, that voice against the strings of violin and strum of the guitar is ultimately gorgeous. It's inviting, it's warm, while the lyrical content sways in a balance, finding one's place in it. His choice is the woods, and that's kind of where Hogtied Revisited starts, which was actually done off his Hogtied Like a Rodeo in 2002. He chooses the woods because it's where he can disappear. Against conformity, possessions, and that's the first track.
So I sit back and watch. I see all of them I soon appear. I long for the words, from this place I'll disappear.
Then it's into whistling again, which now I'm familiar with because of where I came from the signature of the other record. Carnage is cowpunk of sorts, and it's a great way to a reckoning of performance and broad range of material quickly. It's a horrible scene and supposition against a sinister pricking of the strings and a gallop away from the dying of the light. It's really cool. And that lends way to another later, even more cowpunk thing called the Madman. In a more traditional stance of it, but you'll get that. Equally cool in the galloping tale, right? However, that doesn't mean there's not light. I believe gives an impression that this will be all figured out somehow within the fiddle-like delivery and the vetter vibrato that kind of reiterates the real and the uncertainty within the determination of to see something through all the way to its conclusion. It's kind of how these records go. And see, the White Buffalo Through is what I felt, even in the album's ender, Hideous Heart. Welcome to the human condition. It's fatal, and it's not just a timing thing. It's your surroundings too. History's important. The White Buffalo takes us to another Charles Bronson movie. I don't know. It's just Charles Bronson, apparently. This guy. Now I find out maybe he doesn't even know he exists. Once Upon a Time in the West. Quite possibly the greatest Western movie of all time. I can't argue it. Sorry, Clint. This one is the era, timing, and the situational piece of something, of in songwriting too. It's an emotional delivery within the music, as well as the delivery that sends this album straight to you, straight off with the Ballad of a Dead Man. But it also lends itself to more cowpunk, gin and fizz, and the How the West Was Won, so that you're having a good time while you're on this 2012 trail, going back in time in some cases. The musicians here include Ben Montench on piano. We got Tim Walker doing pedal steel guitar, who has worked with Pete Yorn, and one of my favorites, Minnie Driver, actress and singer-songwriter. Bruce Whitkins does bass. He actually produced the records after that for quite some time, played bass on most of the records too, and he was in a bass in a band with Johnny Depp. So in 2022, I hailed the year of the Dark Horse as one of the top 22 albums of 2022. I believe number 18, maybe. Yeah, it was number 18. This alt folk neo country rocker is unpredictable, innovative, and extremely provocative, somber, and a badass. And he's got all that in his bag of chips. And I love it. That's what I love about it. Continues to kind of do that when he gets into 2024's live record, which is called The Freight Train Through the Night. Double disc live recording. I'm not sure it was what I really was expecting it to be. And then again, 2022 was or 2024 was a very quick year of listening to stuff and trying to get everything in. So live albums just don't get as much attention sometimes. So I'll just leave that to you and how you think of it as live. But don't go to the live recording right away. Go and experience these albums. But in June of 2015, if you're interested in all this and the process and the painstaking time, passion, and compassion you have to have for the vocal, all country, cowpunk, heavy blues, kind of folky, and there's a 10-part docuseries entitled Capturing the White Buffalo, the Recordings of an American Songwriter. This follows Smith as he records the album Love and Death of Damnation, which was 2015. It kind of shows the inspiration to writing, to fine-tuning, recording, and of course the final mix, but also the rehearsing and performing live, which I believe portrays him in careful consideration of a modern-day inspirational songwriter, the definition of a kind of alternative folk country troubadour, if you will.
The moon, it's like a game, a calculated ruse, spinning us till we're a little bit confused. I wish I'd find just a better way to lose. So I settled for a cage, 9 to 5 and hollowed out, breaking like a window. I can see there's no way out. Slaving a working wage, is that all I'll ever do? Stuck in this apartment, a kingdom for a fool.
As much as his traveling musicianship, but the incredible wide breadth of storytelling and the reach of musical connection. The songs of White Buffalo have appeared in all kinds of television shows, motion pictures. He's written things just for motion pictures, some for video game, I even believe. I want to say Halo, but that doesn't sound right. But the one that's big in this is Sons of Anarchy, which really maybe might have been the connection piece some people might have to the White Buffalo. It is the truthful telling of the complexity and depth of connection to the lyric and the reach of the musicianship in simplicity to add to scenes or even backgrounds. And that's really great composition. That's great musicianship and songwriting that can do this, because not every song can be in a movie. Not every song can be in the background of a television series. If you haven't known of what the White Buffalo, as the song states, I got you, and your best musical interest at heart to open up to our potential problem solution. It'll help us all get through these days. The White Buffalo albums, those in my collection, I'll mention as I go through. Hogtied Like a Rodeo was an independent release in 2002. Hogtied Revisited, which independently released again in 2008, a little bit different. Once Upon a Time in the West, that was under Unison Music Group. He's got a few of those. 2012, I have that record. Shadows, Grays, and Evil Ways, Unison Music Group, 2013. I have that record. Love and Death of Damnation, Unison Music Group over the last time, 2015. I have that record as well. Darkest Days, Lightest Lights, that was 30 Tigers in 2017. On the Widow's Walk, that was Snake Farm Records now, which I think he's still on. Maybe not. 2020. And Year of the Dark Horse, Snake Farm Records in 2022. Join us next week for another Unknown Sundays 2026. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, of course. Music, albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on so we can write articles, have these videos, and eventually the podcast. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Thanks for watching and happy listening.